All right. Bruce, do you want to get us started? Because Jesse's not here to get us started quite yet. And I know you said you didn't have much. You're just going to give some quick status updates.
Sure, absolutely. So we opened school, and the last 2 weeks have probably been the smoothest 2 weeks of opening that the tech department has had since my start. We've got all the iPads out. We've got iPads out to employees and students, and everything's going well. The phone system is showing some increase in performance as a result of the firewall activity that we did this summer, and things are moving forward. We've put projectors. Our projector goal is each year to replace 1/3 of the projectors in the classroom in a rotation. The projectors that were installed this summer, the teachers are very glad to have and have been well welcomed. And right now, it seems like technology is running pretty smooth. And other than that, that's all I have for a status update.
Good. I have an important question, and it's like, what do you think of your new quarterback?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it's going to become better. We spent the money. We should have a good team. We'll see what happens. But
okay,
you know what I really think is my new coach. My new coach should have played his veterans in the preseason, so they had an opportunity to play together. But our last 2 games have been plagued with penalties, and I believe that's from not playing in the preseason.
Okay, all right.
I was trying to make a connection, like, is that a metaphor to a position on his team? Okay, clearly you're talking about football.
Right. Well, he's a Patriots fan. He can't help it.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
All right. Any questions for Bruce?
No,
Just a quick comment.
Good.
Sorry. Go ahead, Carol.
Really good. I love hearing that something starts out smoothly in the beginning of a school year. I don't even care which thing it is, as long as we have something we can say, that's going great. So thank you, Bruce, for all the hard work you and your people do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a testimony to all the hard work you did over the summer to make sure that the fall goes smoothly. So thanks, Bruce, for doing all that and all of the the foresight. It's often a game of chess with technology, trying to anticipate what's going to break next, and obviously you did a great job with that.
Thank you. I owe it all to my team. I couldn't do it without my team, but things did go smooth this year, and I'm happy for it.
You do look noticeably
But of course, I probably
calmer.
just jinxed myself.
Yeah, that's right. But you do look noticeably calmer than I've seen you before. So that is a good reflection of how things are going. So good to see.
Things are going good. Yep.
Good, good. Yes, thanks to everybody in your team for unbelievably hard work through the summer and the school year. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. They deserve all the thanks.
They also did a super job for new staff orientation. A huge portion of the orientation is technology based. I mean, John goes over the district goals and I go over some housekeeping stuff in terms of curriculum and how to access things on the website. Janet does an overview of special education, but the rest of it, the bulk of it, is delivered by the tech integrators, and making sure that everybody is comfortable logging into. We have a lot of the instructional tools and the organizational tools are tech-based. So there's a lot for the tech integrators to plan for, go over. And then we've also started having a day that the new staff can come in earlier, at least a day before orientation, to get their iPads, because we used to hand them out during orientation, and that took up precious time that we needed to provide them with some instruction. So they did a great job.
Thank you, Stephanie. And just so you know, my debrief with them resulted in them asking for more time next year because they don't feel like they got enough covered.
Well, we do have a full day. We usually do a half day because it's overload, but we could talk about the structure of that.
Okay, good. They would like double the time they had.
All right, sounds good. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank
and-
you. I apologize. I'm running late. Had a bit of a physical emergency for my son's soccer game today. I had to get
Oh.
paperwork run down to the field super quick. So
That's all right.
oof, one of those days.
You are very quick and you're right on time for how we've sort of restructured the agenda. So
Perfect.
you're in good shape. And so we invited Jesse to talk with the group a little bit about extended learning opportunities and how that process is going. And just provide sort of a brief overview about some of the pathways work that's taking place at the high school right now, which I think is incredibly exciting. We've been talking about this for years and there's a lot in motion right now.
Good.
Let's see. I'm going to share my screen.
Do I need to make you a co-host?
I think it's letting me.
Oh, great.
All right. Can you see this Pathways webpage here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So this is kind of our staff resource page. So it's kind of our home base for a lot of this work that we're doing. And really how we started this work up to this point is we realized as we're starting to talk about this, that we've done a lot of these little pieces in isolation over the past couple of years. And a lot of the stuff has come, some of it's come out of necessity, some of it's been a little bit more purposeful, but really a big part of the work at this time is now how do we weave all this together and strengthen as one united vision. And part of that is going to be through this NEAS process that we're right in the middle of. We're ready to hit send on our report next week. But one of the things that we'll have to do coming out of that is create a vision of a graduate. And that's something that NEAS asked for us to do. But it's also a really valuable tool because I think it's going to provide the framework that we need for this pathways work and the idea of how do we create a sandbox for kids to play with some different ideas and explore some different options to create some formative opportunities for what do they want to do once they get out of high school. So we started this work by trying to organize what opportunities do we currently have. So as we start to take a look at that, we can figure out, are there any gaps? How did these things connect? Because as we're starting to take a look at those, one of the first things we tried to do is try to create a flow chart between a lot of these different experiences. That's really hard because it's not necessarily going from one place to another. So what I wanted to do is kind of walk you through some of the things that we currently have and what that looks like moving forward. So as far as creating pathways work in that sandbox, we'll have a number of different work experience and career preparation opportunities for students. And this starts with our Jmg program and our Jmg experience, which we have two different kind of cohorts of kids. We have 9th and 10th graders that work together on these programs. Then we also have 11th and 12th graders that are kind of working together on a second level of those things. Jmg students are identified. They're students who typically experience some type of barrier. Jmg specialists provide support through high school, through the post-secondary process, and could be into the work and the follow-up, either into the workforce or into college a year after they graduate as well. So this is a kind of great wraparound program and support that is provided. There are also some college programs at some of the area colleges as well. So it creates an opportunity for a nice handoff for students to have a program that kind of helps guide them and keep them on track. One program that Jmg created this year is the Career Exploration Badge. And what this is an opportunity for all students, not just Jmg students, for us to kind of reinforce some of the career experience that they're currently having in high school. And what students have to do to earn this badge is they have to complete 40 hours of a meaningful work experience. They have to create some modules that reinforce some soft skills for students. And at the end of the 5 hours of modules that they do and the 40 hours of documented meaningful work experience is they have the opportunity to receive a $500 award, and they earn what Jmg is calling a main career exploration badge. So it's essentially a certification that they completed this work to start exploring and supporting their work that they have there. I'm not sure what just happened there. Can you guys still see my screen?
No, it went blank.
Says I'm viewing Paul Costner's screen.
Yeah,
I'm so
Paul,
sorry.
somehow you're,
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to fix something and having no success. I'm going to log off.
There you go. Still
Okay.
back.
Okay.
there we go. Still in the back.
It's like tug of war. So that is a piece of that program. That kind of builds upon some of this other work that we're doing, because students enrolled in this program, this could be a standalone. This could just be a 40-hour experience that they do apart from some of the other things that we're doing. Or it could build upon the job shadow and internship work that we're currently taking a look at doing, that Molly Staples, our internship ELL coordinator, is doing, and the grant that we just received from the DOE that Stephanie put some great work in at the end of last year to allow for us to do. And we're currently in our first group of that. And our goal was to have about 15 students enrolled in this program by the end of this semester. By the time the school year started, we had about 17 kids already enrolled in this. By getting the word out, students were really quick to want to jump onto this and take advantage of this opportunity. And what this opportunity is students are enrolled in a class where the first couple weeks of the semester, they're working on some soft skills, doing some networking, doing some career exploration work. And then Molly's working with them to try to find them a job shadow or internship that would be 10 to 15 hours a week, that they can use that block during the day to be able to go and get a jump start on that, to be part of their school program. Those internships can be paid as part of the grant. We're able to, if transportation is a barrier for students, the grant provides some money and some opportunities to provide transportation to students to get them out and trying some of those different opportunities. And students in this program are also eligible for the main career exploration badge as well. So those things that can kind of partner together. So this is kind of strengthen our partnership with JMG and those opportunities. And we're already building up, so there's a semester-based opportunity within here. And we're already building up a number of students who are interested for next semester, along with also being able to kind of create a phase 2. So once they get through this part, what does that next part look like? If this is a really valuable use of their time, we're really focused on 11th and 12th graders with this. So if their internship job shadow ends up being a great match, but the employer isn't in a place to provide a paid work experience through the employer, how else can we get the student to have these meaningful experiences to be part of their school day? So we're currently in development of exactly what that looks like, but that it will likely be a student-centered independent study type process. We'll look at different learning outcomes that the student's hoping to get and design a program around that for them that'll be credit bearing. And then the last part of the work experience career preparation piece that we have is our co-op program, and that is run through our school to career coordinator, who works with MCST and us as well. She teaches a career exploration class every year. Students need to take that class one time, and then either while they're currently enrolled in that class or anytime after they've successfully passed that class, they have the opportunity to secure meaningful employment. They can get some time during the school day or after school to earn 1 credit per semester for doing this work and following through with the expectations of that program there. So those are currently what we both have in development for our work experience and career preparation piece. And that's not even touching upon, I'll talk about some of the academies as well, because the academies also do some work along this too. So this is where we see everything's kind of interwoven. So trying to create that flow chart is a very challenging thing to do, because it creates multiple different pathways, which is a good problem to have because it creates multiple entry and exit points for students to experience this work. So we're looking at pre-career training and looking at that as far as students who are graduating and are likely to go into a trade school or go directly into the trades or directly to work. And the programs that we have for that are MCST. The state is developing a pre-apprenticeship program that it exists at the state level, but they don't have any details about it yet. So it's very much a shell of a program. They're looking to this fall be able to release some additional information for that too. So students who maybe aren't going into a full apprenticeship program to go into a trade, this is an opportunity to kind of start introducing them to those things where they might then choose to go into an apprenticeship program after that. One exciting thing is a lot of colleges are offering many different early college opportunities, and it's and they're becoming more specialized with those things too. And one of the things I'm especially excited about is a lot of schools, especially UMF, looking at it, they're providing a number of like early education classes for students who are interested in going into teaching or working in schools. They have the opportunity to start taking some of those method classes while they're in high school. And we can help partner with that. We have one young lady who's a senior who's we're building an internship for, where she can go work in one of the schools, design some lessons, do kind of almost like a mini student teaching. And we're looking to enroll her in some of these classes through UMF as well to get her a jump start on her future career as a teacher. Helps with getting good quality teachers into our buildings and programs, and it helps enrich our schools as well. So there's a variety of different ones there. I won't walk you through each of those classes, but there's every year it feels like there's more opportunities there. So that creates some exciting opportunities for students as well. And then kind of the last piece is kind of the end game for some of these kids that kind of creates some framework is our endorsements. We've had our STEM and liberal arts academies for a while, and they also create through this a number of internship and job shadow opportunities for students to be able to go out and explore some of these fields. These students who are participating in these are also eligible for that Jmg badge program as well. So it's a way of certifying the work that they're doing a little bit more, and as an opportunity for them to get a little bit of a cash award as an incentive for students as well. And we think this will also help raise some student aspirations, because it requires students to take a little bit more of a challenging course load to do those things. And we're really excited because we're rolling out this year our Cte endorsement as well. We've talked about this for many years, but with all the events of the past couple of years, it has really slowed down progress in doing this. And we're able to, at the end of last year, really nail down some criteria for this that should really reinforce a lot of the work that our students are doing in the trades and through their work at MCST. And so the requirements for this is students must take a challenging course load through their CTE work. We ask for them to have 24 hours of job shadow experience over 2 years. And that's unpaid job shadow experience at this time. We're trying to figure out how that Jmg career badge part fits into this. And we ask for them to receive one certification through their program. Many of these programs offer at least one, if not multiple different opportunities to get certification that really shows that they've really dedicated themselves within their program. We ask the students must complete 2 years within the same career pathway, which doesn't have to be the same program, but they have to be able to be complementary towards a chosen field that they're looking to go into. So they can partner a variety of different programs together to do those things. And students who receive a GPA of 90 or better, not only do they qualify for the National Technical Honor Society, but we would certify their work there as also receiving an honors endorsement. So saying that they've gone above and beyond in their CTE work at Midcoast Coal Technology. And here's just a list of some of the certifications that are available for students within those programs. So those are all the pieces that we currently have going. Like I said, I think one of the biggest pieces is defining that vision of a graduate and how we're going to measure that. What are our expectations for students as they engage in this pathways vision and try out some different things into their junior and senior year, and really exploring that engagement piece. So we're excited to be jumping into that work and really creating some framework, identifying, are there gaps? Are there different areas that we can expand upon? And what are the student interests and needs, and how can we build upon this, to create really formative student-centered programming? Did I miss anything, Steph?
I can't believe how much you covered in that short amount of time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this. So
Yeah. Good.
But all the work that you've done that goes behind putting this information together and helping to get these opportunities in motion, I think we definitely need to acknowledge that. And then this year, Jesse, I think I've mentioned this to this group, but Jesse is doing the program that I did last year. It's an educational leadership experience. It's like a full year course where he'll take full days and visit different parts of the state, to visit counties, to learn about different businesses and organizations that are available in our state for students. So this professional work continues as well, which I think is exciting.
Yeah, Jesse, I'm just so happy with what you're doing. It's just absolutely fantastic what you and your whole staff are doing for your students, for our students. It's just fantastic. It's just great. Couldn't be happier.
I'll share.
Jesse, can I ask a question? It's Paul Costa here. First of all, thank you very much. And it really does look very creative and exciting for the kids. The one observation I have is that the pathways that have been depicted are very sort of main specific. And clearly there's a larger world out there with many different pathways for kids that go way beyond this particular portfolio. What are we going to do to try and broaden the horizons? And I was thinking of my own children and how they got access to a trading room in New York City when we were living in New York. I mean, it's like a mind-blowing experience which kids up here don't get access to. So what can we do about that, do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. It's a big world out there, and being able to pull in a variety of experiences makes us more well-rounded people and individuals. I think a big part of this is finding opportunities for student travel. We're having, now that we're getting back to more normal programming, we're looking to design and find opportunities for students to go out and experience different countries or areas of this own country. Like we're going to Puerto Rico in April. We had a group that went to France last year, and getting out and seeing what else is out there and those other things as well. Along with, we have a pretty strong relationship with some of the local exchange programs too. We have more students coming in than going out at this point, but I think trying to find ways of getting more students to go out and either go on short-term or long-term exchange programs to experience those things. But I think that is definitely an area that we can continue to explore, is how do we broaden the horizons of our students and look at a variety of different things.
I
And
just wonder
I'll add to that too, Paul. Sorry, excuse me. I'll add to that as well. So part of what I will be studying is the rural versus more urban opportunities for students. And I think we're fortunate in this area. We're pretty rich in businesses and organizations, but certainly there's other parts of Maine that to be able to replicate what we're doing would be really challenging, because they might be quite rural and not have those same types of opportunities for students. So I'm going to be digging into how do we make this an equitable experience across the state. And then Maine is much more rural than opportunities that are in many other states. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do, and this is a part of the project for the internship as well, is look at some sort of a technology hub so that we can really use technology to bring the world and experiences to students, even though financially we might not be able to bring the students to those opportunities. So I think one thing that COVID has taught us is we can be much more connected virtually. And I think we have some opportunities to make use of some of those platforms with our students.
Yeah, I agree.
Other questions for Jesse?
No, so the CTE endorsement will happen this year for seniors, graduating?
Yes, so we're going to prorate some of those different criteria. Like they won't have to do the full 24 hours if it's a senior applying this year. We'll only make them do half those hours, and we'll make it so it's accessible to them because they have one fewer year. But our hope is to have some kids graduate this year with the certification.
Okay. Have you told them yet, like those
Yes.
students who were eligible, and what are their thoughts and reactions to all this?
We've shared it with a lot of other information at this point. So I think they've kind of glossed over. I know a couple of kids that I've talked about, there seems to be some excitement over the value that we're also creating with our CTE work and putting it on par with the STEM and liberal arts work as well. So we're going to start having some more small groups and talk to students about this and really generate some more interest in that. So it's very introductory at this point as far as sharing that information with them. But next week, I've been talking to school career coordinator. We're going to start really focusing on the efforts to get students enrolled starting by the end of the first quarter.
My impression will take a while for people, for kids to really sink in, and then for the entire school to sink in as to what we're doing here.
Yeah, no,
and then,
I think so. I think this year will be a transitional year, but I think once we kind of get a footing for it, I think we're going to get quite a few students enrolled in this.
You know, the thing that you're obviously doing is creating a culture of pathways. And that is so relevant, right? We know that it's relevant to their experience and what they're thinking about, what they love doing and where they want to go after high school. So that culture of pathways with all these different possibilities is something that you're building as well. And I'm really curious. So the JMG, what was it called?
The career exploration badge.
Yeah, badge. So that's available to any student, not just those in the JMG
Correct.
program?
And it's any 11th or 12th graders, the same area that they're focusing on. So any student who has a meaningful work experience, they're eligible for that badge and the $500 award at the end of the experience.
It's another example, like you talked about blending, you know, that the experience of students will be blended as to what they're all doing and how it all relates. And that just sounds great. That just sounds great. It's just great.
It ought to create more collaborative feelings too among students.
Yeah.
Get to know some other people who are, you know, going down that pathway, people you might not have talked to or anything but pass in the hallway, and suddenly, you know, you're on a project with that person. It makes a whole difference. So I like the idea of connections.
I think too, Carol, just to dovetail with that idea, part of the power behind these community connections when we can get students out into some placements is making a connection within a network of the community. In addition to, you know, peers and teachers that they already know, we're now adding to their relationships. You know how sometimes they say it's not what you know, but who you know. Well,
Oh yeah.
maybe, you know, being an adult is more of a blend of those things, but who you know is important. You're forming some ideas based on information that you're getting from them and that you're learning from that relationship. So I think we're placing value on that. And I had the opportunity on Friday afternoon to go sit with Molly and her group of students and just do a little, you know, picking their brains, like, why are you in the class? And for a couple, it was, I was really interested. And for some others, it was, well, my parents saw the posting and really wanted me to be in the class. But all of them were engaged and enthusiastic. And that was 2 weeks into the school year. So they'd only had the course for 5 days. And they were already saying, I've learned so much about myself. I did an interest inventory. I'm figuring out that there's jobs out there that I didn't even think about. Like one of them was talking about a mortician and, you know, finding out what that role does and if that's something that they would be interested in. And another student said, I'm in this class to learn because I have no idea what I want to do. And Molly's working really hard to give this student sort of like a menu of some different opportunities. So it's a blend. It's not just going to be one placement, so that the student can really learn more about herself and what she might be interested in.
Yeah, and as you were saying all of this stuff, I was thinking not only are they making new connections, but they're also formulating their own identity, which may be foggy to them right now. I know when I was in 11th grade, I thought I knew who I was and had no clue. But those kinds of things, we're allowing them opportunity to formulate the who the heck am I picture.
Yeah.
The
So
sooner they figure that out, the better, right?
I think we're providing them with some great learning experiences. We have a lot to learn along the way about the process, but I think that's what makes it exciting. This is the work we like doing. This is like so unlike contact tracing.
Yeah, a little bit. So I'm a little confused. So Molly teaches what class?
She's our internship ELO coordinator. So she teaches the class that goes along with our formal internship program that's through the grant. And she also oversees the placement and the work that students do as part of their internship.
Okay.
Jesse, could you describe to me, and excuse me for being sort of a novice or having a little bit of a square one question, but the relationship or how you work with MCST and how the students are able to dovetail between the two programs, and you know, what you think is you know, what are the benefits and what are the potential obstacles for that type of collaboration?
Yeah, so students who are enrolled in a full MCST program go to MCST for half their schedule. So one day, we have blue and white days. So they spend either all of blue day or all of a white day over at MCST enrolled in a program. In most programs, they also have an opportunity to take one academic course over there. Sometimes it's an early college class that they have available over there as well. And that can help provide some more flexibility for their programming at the high school, because on the opposite day, they would be with us or enrolled in an alternative ed program or something like that, and take their other core classes through us there. We do have a kind of a modified class for 9th and 10th graders that is housed within the building. And they kind of sample a bunch of the different programs. They spend some time over there, and that is only 2 blocks instead of 4 blocks. So it gives an opportunity, because typically freshmen don't start over at MCST, but it gives us an opportunity for students who are interested in that hands-on work to still have some of those hands-on opportunities, explore some different programs before they're able to enroll in a full program. We have 2 employees from MCST that are in our building, our school career coordinator and our teacher who teaches that CTE, the career expert, are the kind of the pre-MCST course. And they're with us majority of the time. And they're kind of our liaisons to MCST. But we also work really closely with all the folks over there as far as creating programming and opportunities and providing supports for them. That, I really view MCST as an extension of Oceanside programming. It's not separate, but it's very collaborative, and we work, very closely together to support students. We use up all of our spots every year. So, sometimes we're begging for extra spots. We have a number of our students who will go on and take a 5th year, because students have the opportunity after they graduate to continue on in a program over there if they were successful in that previous program, and that's at no cost to them. So it gives an opportunity to really expand their resume and their skill set as well. So I really feel like MCST really enhances the work and the supports that we provide for students. That's one thing that I think really gets some students through the day, is that knowing that every other day that they get to go down there and do work.
Good. Very good.
So are the students are actually going there, and you said you had a couple MCST teachers at Oceanside as well. So are some students taking MCST classes at Oceanside?
So the MCST classes offered through us are the 2-period kind of pre-MCST class, for lack of a better descriptor, where they're working on a lot of those basic skills and exploring some of the different pieces. And that's essentially an MCST class offered in our building. And then our school to career coordinator, she oversees the co-op or the work study program. And she teaches a class in our building, which is a shared class between the 2 of us.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I may have missed this, but quick question, Jesse. Do the students who participate in these programs, or have they the opportunity to earn certificates or diplomas or other kind of sort of things that might be of utility to them in the larger world?
Yeah, so they all receive diplomas when they finish up with their MCST program. If they're on a diploma track for us, that all adds into their high school credits. And each program has its own set of certifications that students can earn too. So they're able, and those certifications translate to the workforce from there too. So if a student is taking, if they're in the culinary program, they're getting their ServSafe certification, and that's something that they can put on their resume when they're going to apply for other kitchen jobs for the rest of their career as well.
Right. That's
We're
awesome.
helping to set them off on that.
Right.
Thank
Paul,
you.
have you been able to go down to see the MCST building and what they're doing down there yet?
I've certainly seen the outside, but not the inside yet.
Yeah.
I guess I should
Yeah.
take a visit. One of the yes, I'll pay a visit.
Yeah, because it's so
amazing,
fantastic
yeah.
down there, and it is what Jesse says is true. Like, and students are involved there, so for the most part, feel like they have found their place and they have found their thing, and it's just, and the facility now to
So wonderful.
them to utilize is just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
And Jesse, I want to honor your time. I know you said you had a hard stop because you've got some kid stuff. So I appreciate your time being here and sharing with the group.
I appreciate all the questions. And if you guys think of anything else afterwards or want to talk anymore, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. So please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Jesse, to you and your entire team. Thank you so much. We're behind you all the way. You need us. We're here for you.
Okay. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Jesse.
All right.
Thank you, Jesse.
See ya.
Bye.
And good news also, Molly said that she is prepping her group who are going through this internship program, which is a course. She's preparing them to do some presentations, and we could do those for this curriculum committee so that you can hear from the students. And it would be a great opportunity for them to be able to share too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Very
More
good.
to come on that. We'll work on structuring that for probably the middle of the school year toward January, February. The final thing that I had is just very brief. I just wanted to give a minute to see if there's any questions or suggestions for how I've structured, hold on, where are we? This data dashboard, which I think initially maybe came from the board workshop as a discussion. But then we had a committee meeting shortly after that, and I shared with this committee that I'm happy to put something together, which I did. And I basically got a snapshot of district-specific data for graduation rates, which you can pop these out and see them on a separate screen and zoom in just to see things a little bit bigger if needed. But it does include our graduation there with the state average in comparison to the RSU13 average. Oops, I can get back. It has the district daily attendance rate, and I'll pop that out for just a minute. The district average daily attendance rate, and it shows that by school year. I talked a little bit about that at the board meeting, although I didn't have the visual to show as I was explaining it. But one of the things that we've talked about as an administrative team this year is, and this is part of our partnership with the Count Me In and potentially some of the work that the Student Engagement Task Force will be taking on as well. But we've talked about the metrics of decreasing our chronic absenteeism rate by 20%. That's the recommended decrease that we should be expected to see as we're focusing on attendance and partnering with Count Me In. And I'm pretty confident that we will get at least very close to that, because I don't think we're going to see the same rates of chronic absenteeism this year that we saw last year. And that's simply due to the fact that we're not quarantining close contacts this year. So I think that in itself is probably going to make a difference. Whoops, I didn't mean to stop sharing my screen. I just meant to move away from that page. Let me go back here. The student growth by grade is all based off of our NUIA assessments. We take the math and the reading NUIA every year for as long as I can remember in this district. We could go way back with our data. But since I began in this position in 2017, I think the summer of 2017, I started putting together NUIA data by cohort. So we have classes like class of 2030, class of 2031, and we track them over time with the class average of the percentage of students that are proficient and the growth. So I'm not displaying all of that data here, but we do have access to that level of data, and we show some of that in our school-based reports, which I'll open up one in just a minute. But that was what I was explaining at the board meeting, is sort of like data overload. So that's why I think these snapshots are important. I do want to just say one thing about this growth data here is we will no longer be giving the language assessment. We only had that data because it was required last year in both the fall and the spring by the main assessment system. And it was one of the required assessments that schools had to give, and it was also a NUIA assessment. We hadn't given it consistently in the past, so it's going to be our 1 year that we had language usage data, and it's not an assessment that we've chosen to continue. So going forward, we'll just have our math and our reading growth data, but this data shows the percentage of students that made growth their expected growth goal during the school year. So it had to be data from students that took the assessment both in the fall and in the spring, and then whether or not that student met their growth target for how much they should have been growing throughout that school year. So, and just for clarification of that, you might have a student in 4th grade who is really functioning maybe on the 2nd grade level, but they made their expected growth. Maybe by the end of their 2nd grade year, they're functioning on the 3rd grade level. But because they made their expected growth for that year as a 4th grader, even though they might not be considered proficient, they still are in this 80% of students that met their growth goal in the 4th grade. So this is growth. Did the student meet their growth goal? Oh yeah, go ahead.
So let's say you had I'm looking at the 11th grade, and that 49 doesn't show how many students are proficient. It just shows the growth from the previous testing.
That's correct. Yep.
Because if it's how many students are proficient, I'm really worried. So I'm glad to hear that that's not the case.
Yeah, that's not the case. This is just growth. But because we do want to show our proficiency data as well, this is proficient by grade level. And there are some that are lower, and we're taking steps to work on programming. So for example, math and reading, this is percent proficient by grade level. And we look at our NUIA test scores, and we look at the students that are within a standard deviation of the 50th percentile or higher. Usually that standard deviation takes us down to the 41st percentile or higher. So we're looking at those students as being proficient for their grade level when they take that assessment, and they're scoring within that higher percentile. It's called the average, above average, and high categories on the NUIA assessment. And there are some, particularly math, that you'll notice are lower. One of our, and I talk about this at the end of the year, if you view our June video again, I go through this data. One of the problem areas as a result of the pandemic are at the time it was our current 4th graders, they're now our 5th graders. These students were impacted, particularly in math, by the pandemic, because that was the part of the school year, it would have been the end of their 2nd grade year, where they're being introduced to a lot of the algebraic expression understandings about beginning multiplication and beginning division, just laying that foundation and that groundwork for some of those operations. So with the pandemic, some of that missing instruction, or instruction that was sort of probably like Swiss cheese instruction, that grade level, and this is nationally as well, this is not just our district, but nationally, you see that this grade level was quite impacted by the pandemic. And it's really about the types of instruction that was taught at the end of that grade level when we went into emergency instruction. We also know that we've got some pockets here in the middle school where we've been concerned about math for a couple of years. In the past, we had students from multiple programs coming together in the middle school, which created some confusion for our students. Now we have, we're going into our 2nd year of full implementation of new programming. We have actually seen these scores increase. So we are seeing these go up. Sometimes it's hard to just look at data in isolation. That's the downside of a data dashboard, but these scores in most cases are going up. And what I expect to see is we're going to continue to see particularly these middle school scores go up, because this is our 1st year implementing the math program K5. So we purchased the Ready Classroom math program. The teachers are using that in middle school this year. So we now have one consistent program for K through 5. But it takes a little while for that data to catch up, for you to really see that improvement. But you now have access to that snapshot.
Who else? Who has access?
What's that?
Who has access to this?
Anybody. This is public. So I'll go back to the RSU13 homepage. Bear with me, my internet is slow right this moment. But I'll show you how you can get to this. And if you know, I did share this at the board meeting as well, but anybody in the public can access this. It's under the curriculum tab. And if you click on assessment data, it brings you right to that page where the dashboard is.
Great.
And at the state level, you can compare our performance versus other RSUs and administrative regions, right?
That is correct.
So, I mean, this is really great. It's quite fascinating as a diagnostic tool. But let's take the K5 math program as an example. Is the intention to monitor the impact of that program over the next 2 or 3 years? Do we have, and I realize this is a naive question, but do we have goals and targets, all of which have come with innumerable issues, I know, or are we just letting the data happen to us? I'm trying to kind of get a sense of, you know, what our intentions are here.
So I share that in meetings. I don't post all of that publicly. When we're piloting programs, I gather data from piloting teachers. We put data charts together so that we can compare piloting versus non-piloting groups. And the only place that I share that publicly is in these meetings, but I don't post it publicly.
What is our intention as a school district? Are we intending to move the metrics north, and do we have a goal in mind, or, you know, I'm just trying to understand the culture around metrics.
Oh, okay. I think I understand your question. So our district has 3 overarching goals: relationships, proficiencies, and pathways.
Right.
Each school chooses an objective or series of objectives that match those goals. That goes back to our RSU13 educational vision that was adopted by the board. So they might not all be working on the same objectives at the same time. Like, we're not going to say our district has a math initiative this year, everybody's working on math improvement. But one of the schools, for example, that was Thomaston Grammar School's objective for the past 2 years. They piloted the program and then did full implementation, and they were specifically tracking their math data because they had been identified as that being an area of need the previous year.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So that does bring me to another thing that the board brought up, which I am working on putting together. The board at the last meeting had asked for, what is each school's objective and what kind of data are they collecting? Just because the board is curious. And I think that's important to share. So I will have that together for the board. I don't know if I'll have it together by the next meeting, but I will definitely have it in the fall. Because I think it will be helpful as the board is listening to the principal presentations to cross-reference back to the objectives that the principal is working on with their school.
Great. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Stephanie, I'm wondering if it might be possible to give us a little bit of a broader context to some of these numbers, either by showing how we compare to other schools in Knox County or across the state of Maine. It's just hard to sort of see where these percentages stack up against, you know, some of the peer schools or some of the, you know, some of the communities in the area.
Yeah, I can share this dashboard with you. This is Maine's ESSA dashboard. Maine keeps this updated. It does give you some comparison data. Again, I think I mentioned this at the board meeting that you can find per pupil spending in there, and you can compare our district to other districts. I know that's something that has come up before. You can compare chronic absenteeism. You can compare state assessments. The NUIA is the state assessment, but I would suggest if we're doing any comparison, we do it within this dashboard, because this is where Maine collects all of that data centrally, and at least we would be comparing apples to apples. Otherwise, there's some nuances to what is the data and how is the district collecting it. So this is probably the best place to do any comparison. And if you want me to focus on that at an upcoming meeting with, you know, maybe focusing on chronic absenteeism, I'm happy to do that. I think the little caveat though is the the closest back that we can go is the 2020-2021 school year. It does not capture anything from last school year yet. It will eventually, but sometimes you're working with old data there.
Yeah, I do think that that would be helpful just to provide context for the board on how we're doing relative to other schools in the area. I just feel like that would be a good talking point, and I imagine other board members might be curious about that as well.
I will show you one other place. On this assessment page, it does provide education reports that go all the way back, again, since my first year in this role, reflecting back to the 2017-2018 school year. And these reports are all set up pretty much the same. It got really long in the 1920 school year because we didn't have district data that year. There was no MEA or spring assessment. We were already out of school. So instead, there's really long narratives about what schools provided for home learning supports, and there's some great pictures, but the education report got sort of lengthy. So there are abbreviated versions, and I haven't added last year's version with all the data yet. I have the data, I just haven't had time to put it together. But the way that it's set up is it provides the first 3 questions as a district overview. What are we doing to support students? What academic standards are we measuring, and what are we expecting that they show? And how are the attendance rates and graduation rates informing our needs? So all of these are bookmarks that will bring you directly to the page. This is where I just pulled the data from to make the chart. So this is kept up to date as well. It just displays the data in a different way other than a graphic chart. And then of course that same data is drilled down by each school, and it follows those same 3 questions. So for Ashpoint, if you want to know how are they supporting students, what do their academic standard measures show, and then how are their graduation rates informing their educational needs, you can click on that school and you can see all of those things as you scroll down. Ways they're supporting students, what do the standardized measures show? Again, this is the MEA NUIA data. So you can see this is the percent proficient, which is those that are performing at or above average. So that's the same thing as the percent proficient. So you can see that by school, and then their average daily attendance. So just in case you want to drill down and see any of that data more specifically.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or any discussion about other things that you would like to see on the upcoming agenda?
I don't know. It's very rewarding day to day.
I apologize for the naive question, probably a little irritating at first, but on the tech front, it was a fairly brief session. And I'm just wondering, are there projects underway? Are there plans to migrate the servers, move to the cloud, upgrade this, upgrade that? Do we have projects on the tech front, or is it just sort of left as a kind of I don't know, a maintenance item on the agenda?
So I would say that, it's a little bit of both. We have integrators in each building, and the intention is for those integrators to pull the staff forward in their style of usage in the classroom. Currently, though, as far as hardware goes, we just purchased a whole new fleet of hardware for the entire district. So there's no current project to do any of those type of upgrades at this point. But yes, ongoing projects towards giving teachers more of an exposure to creative ways to integrate technology into their classroom.
So, I mean, so you don't want to outline projects that will come and revisit over the course of time, or you feel that's unnecessary?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm just trying to understand how we assess the technology program. Is it just simply uptime and sort of the usage rates, or do we have in mind actual changes that we'll be monitoring over the course of time to the technology, changes to the technology?
I guess I would have to say no to that. I mean, we currently are using state-of-the-art technology. I think our goal is more about how technology is used as opposed to what the technology is.
Right. Okay.
We're also, and Bruce, you can explain this to Paul more, but we're in the, what, second year of our lease for our devices? Is that it? Second year or first year?
This is the second year.
Right. Out of
So
4 years?
typically we rotate our devices every 4 years. So this project started where the state of Maine provided devices for schools on a 4-year basis. And now the state of Maine, well, 3 years ago, the state of Maine stopped doing that, but 2 years ago, they picked it back up again. And so we're in year two of our recent purchase, and 2 more years, we'll look again at upgrading our fleet. Last time when we upgraded our fleet, we were able to sell our old fleet in order to make the first payment on the new fleet as well. So we do monitor the situation.
So, are we leasing?
I think right now
Maybe
we own.
So we own the infrastructure, but we lease the devices, or did I? No.
Well, it's a lease to own type program. Lease and loan payment are synonymous a little bit in this instance, where at the end of the lease, the devices become ours.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. And so the infrastructure that you've deployed, the servers, the routers, etc., the switches are all brand new. And where are they deployed?
So the servers and switches and routers and wireless access points are currently 5 years old. And the devices are 2 years. The client devices are 2 years old.
All right, got it. Thank you.
And they're deployed in every school. Every student has a one-to-one deployment.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So Bruce, I think your biggest challenge coming up might be the move, right?
Correct. Right now, that is our focus on these modular units that are going in, and that our whole office and server room and tech workspace will be moving into one of the modular units.
Over in Thomaston, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So will that be a project that we monitor over the course of time? And does it have milestones and objectives that are to be shared with the board?
Well, I think that whole modular project itself is shared as a total, not just as a technology piece.
So
yeah,
I'm not understanding. So the intention is to move the data center. Is that correct?
The building that we're currently in is scheduled to close, and so that's what's forcing our move.
Right. So is there a deadline? Is there a target date for making that transition?
To my understanding, next summer we'll be moving.
Okay. So that's really the only thing we need to monitor from an infrastructure perspective.
Yeah, and that's dependent on a lot of variables right now, Paul, in terms of, construction and the bidding process. So I don't know that we have exactly, I understand what you're asking for in terms of objectives and meeting timelines. I'm not sure that we're there yet with that particular project.
And it also is in part in the purview of facilities. It's not just the purview of technology. So they are on the project as well to make sure that facilities are ready and that they're adequate and all of that. So it's a district-wide, if I'm understanding correctly, Steph, it's a district-wide coordinated.
Right. So where we are right now, we just did an assessment of program needs for the new facilities that are going to be installed at the high school and at the middle school. And the architects are now in the process of putting all that together so the companies can bid on the cost of the modular. We're also looking at the site and doing an engineering study of the site and site review. So It's really at the very beginning of the process, and I couldn't put a firm date on it yet. It's going to be some months before we actually have a handle on what our end date is going to be as far as moving out of the building. So it's still in the very early stages.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Anything else?
Stephanie, can we, and everyone, can we look at when our next meeting will be? Get that calendared.
Sure.
Carol, are we on every third Monday or fourth? I can't.
It was third on the website. I always have Kathy double check and it's third Monday.
Third
The
Monday.
17th, I think.
Okay.
Should be October 17th. Is that right?
Yeah. Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
All right.
Sounds
And
like it.
3:15 still the time?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else?
No. Thank you all. If you have to stick around to talk to me after we hang up this meeting and stop recording, and hope you all have a good day.
All right. Sounds good.
Be well,
Thanks for everything.
everyone.